The moment she looked directly into my eyes, my heart nearly stopped. I had been starring for far too long, not because I desired to take what belonged to someone else, but because every time I looked at her, I saw the face of the woman who had once saved my life in ways no one else ever understood. She noticed the confusion, the pain, and the memories I had buried for years. Leaning closer so only I could hear, she quietly whispered, "I know what you're thinking." In that instant, I realized the secret I had spent years protecting was no longer mine alone. Before we continue, if you believe kindness is stronger than judgment and that everyone deserves a second chance, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to Kindness Corner. Your support helps us share stories that remind people the world still has good hearts. Some moments divide life into a before and an after. For me, that moment happened at my best friend's wedding reception. Everyone around us was laughing, dancing, celebrating a future filled with hope. Yet I stood in the corner carrying the weight of a past that no one else in that room knew. My best friend, Daniel, had been like a brother to me since childhood. We had grown up on the same street, survived difficult families, celebrated each other's victories, and carried each other through losses that would have broken us if we had been alone. Watching him smile that evening should have been one of the happiest moments of my life. Instead, I found myself fighting tears that refused to stay hidden. His wife, Emma, wasn't just another stranger entering our lives. Years before either of us had met Daniel, I had crossed paths with her during the darkest chapter of my existence. At the time, I was homeless after losing my job, drowning in debt, and quietly believing my life no longer mattered. One cold winter evening, while everyone hurried past me without making eye contact, one young woman stopped. She didn't ask questions. She didn't lecture me. She simply handed me a warm meal, a clean jacket, and a handwritten note that said, "The world still needs you. Please don't give up today." I never learned her name. I never saw her again, but I kept that note folded inside my wallet for years. Whenever life became unbearable, I unfolded those fading words and reminded myself that somewhere in this world, kindness still existed. That single act changed the direction of my life. I found temporary work, saved enough money to rent a tiny apartment, finished evening classes, and slowly rebuilt everything I had lost. Every success I achieved carried the invisible fingerprints of a stranger who had believed in me before I believed in myself. Then years later, Daniel introduced me to the woman he had fallen in love with. The moment I saw Emma, I recognized her immediately. She didn't recognize me. Why would she? Back then, I had been exhausted, unshaven, thin, and broken. Now I wore a suit, owned a small business, and looked nothing like the man she had helped. I decided to keep the truth to myself. I told myself it wasn't important. I told myself the past belonged in the past. But every family dinner, every birthday party, every holiday gathering became harder than the last. Every time I looked at her, I remembered the person I used to be. My eyes weren't searching for romance. They were searching for gratitude that words had never managed to express. Unfortunately, gratitude can look a lot like longing when seen from the outside. People began noticing. Friends teased me for being unusually quiet whenever Emma entered the room. Daniel laughed it off, believing I was simply shy. The jokes hurt more than anyone realized. I became careful about where I sat, where I looked, and how often I visited. Eventually, I started making excuses to avoid family gatherings altogether. I convinced myself distance was the only way to protect our friendship. Daniel didn't understand. He called repeatedly, asking if he had done something wrong. I always blamed work. The truth was that I was terrified someone would misread the respect I carried in my heart. Months passed before Daniel finally insisted I come to dinner.